Medley, Tom, Paula, Steve. We've got Bob Chapman with us for the rest of the hour. Popping in with him in the last 20 minutes or so is going to be a man who needs no introduction, Jim Marrs, whose book was the basis of the Oliver Stone film JFK. He heard live, he called me Tuesday, the famous prosecutor, Vincent Bugliosi, who's written the definitive whitewash on the JFK assassination. That's my view of it, because I've read some excerpts of it. And he just couldn't believe that Bugliosi was saying there's no evidence, absolutely none, that there was anybody behind the grassy knoll. No one said that. No one. Just amazing. So he's going to be popping in to counter a little bit of that and bring some balance here. But I'm glad to have Bob Chapman with us of theinternationalforecaster.com. Silver, of course, was $5 an ounce or less 10 years ago. Gold 11 years ago was $260 an ounce. It went above $15.50, and it dropped down quite a bit. Silver dropped down quite a bit, and then we saw it inch up a little bit this week and then get driven back down. And it's on record that they raised the margin calls to make it harder for the paper market to flourish, while at the same time, a lot of the elitist companies, and Bob can give you all the technicals on this, dumped billions and billions of dollars of paper silver into the market. And they had to do that because the shorts were coming up, and they were in deep trouble and couldn't cover them. So you've seen a massive manipulation. But if you look at the 11-year graph, we put an 11-year silver graph and then an 11-year gold graph up, you'll notice that every year or two, they drive it down quite a bit, and then later it just races up even more. But overall, the graph is up, unabated. And clearly that's what's happening here, because you have global concerted devaluation of all major currencies, and gold and oil and other commodities are denominated in that. And so the laws of finance and economics show they will go up. The question is when. And there is the 10-year gold. So you see it almost up to 1,600 a few weeks ago, and you see it dropping down, what the media calls, a plunge in the market. Now, a plunge would be down to, say, 800. But no, it plunged, I don't know, it looks like 50, 60 bucks there. Not a true plunge. And silver, the same type of movement on the graph. Silver moved up even faster than gold, so it plunged more than gold. But we'll put that graph back up. But anybody out there who isn't watching on prisonplanet.tv, you can simply go to a search engine, put in 10-year gold graph, 10-year silver graph, and look in 08. See that big plunge in 08? Early 08, but then a few months later it starts its upward trend. See that big plunge in May of 06. It's almost always in May. Notice that plunge in May. Dropped the May before that, dropped the May before that, dropped the May before that. And then look, we go to this May, dropped again. So you can see that trend. The beginning of the summer is always a slow time. But breaking that down and other economic numbers that are coming in, the housing down, the consumer confidence down, unemployment up, food stamps now going over 45 million. And we've got the government-run media telling us the economy is wonderful and smoking hot right now. And gas prices, of course, surging. Theinternationalforecaster.com is Bob's great website. Bob, break down what's happening with gold and silver for us.
Well, what happened was that, first of all, there was no resistance at $50 on silver. And most of the people who owned silver in 1980, they're deceased now. And I'm sure those who did die, their families had sold off during the ensuing years. So there's no real overhang there. So what they did was they raised the margin requirements on the COMEX 5 out of 9 days. They'd never done that before. And the amount of money that you have to put up as collateral on each contract was raised from $9,500 to $21,600.
So this is open manipulation.
Open manipulation. So then the next step, that wasn't bad enough. Simultaneously, like some miracle, all of the big brokerage houses that do commodities, they all doubled the margin from there to 42,000. And all the little guys and the middle-sized guys in the market, ladies too, they get blown out. And so that means two things. It made the spike go down more radically from, say, 45 down to 32.5 in today, 33 close. But more importantly, there's no overhang in the market because everybody was wiped out. If they're doing anything, they might be rebuying at the levels that silver is at today. And I point out silver because that's where all the action was. That's what they wanted to kill by driving a stake through silver's heart, so to speak. And
by the way, I've sold nothing. I've sold no gold, no silver. Most of the stuff I bought was, you know, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 in golds, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10 in silver. And if silver went down to $5 an ounce, which of course it won't, I wouldn't dump it because I know the laws of finance with dollar devaluation. It's all manipulation. Am I wrong in that in my gut I know it's only going to go up over time?
You're absolutely correct. In fact, I was a buyer at 46.29, and early next week I'm going to be a buyer again. And I just keep on buying because I don't care what the price is. I see silver up at $300 or $400, and I see gold at $7,900, $8,000, and I think it's going to go there. And I've been doing this for over 50 years, so I think I got a pretty good handle on it.
Well, I remember you 2 years ago saying it would go to 1,500, and people couldn't believe it. I remember you saying silver would go to 50, and people couldn't believe it, and it went right up to it. But it's this psychological trick they play where if you look at the 11-year graph, it's going up, up, up. You see those dips almost always, in fact, always in May. What is, I mean, not just this new manipulation and all the paper being dumped, but why does it always dip in May?
I think because it's the end of the selling season. The big selling seasons of the future of that year would be Christmas and the two Indian holidays, Diwali, and the other one, I forget what it is. But there's big buying of gold and silver. And that usually starts in late August. And that's when the dealers or manufacturers put their orders in for gold and silver and other metals as well, so that they will have it on hand, and then they have to guess how many of this, that, and the other thing that they're manufacturing they need during the month of September. So you have a hiatus in manufacturing demand and holidays during the period from May through the end of August. So historically, there has been most of the time a slowdown during that period.
So it's like beach towns that are dead in the winter, but you can't get a room in the summer. With gold generally, in fact always, I've looked at 50-year graphs, early summer is horrible, warms up in late August, early September, races up. And so if you look at it year to year, it builds up and crests in the spring, early summer or end of spring starts going down and then races back up in the fall. But overall, we're only going up in the mountain range. The media tries to focus on the seasonal dips and the manipulation dips, but in the aggregate, it's only moving up.
And that's right, and that's why you have to be a long-term investor and don't try to trade it. Since the last 11 years, 9 major currencies versus the dollar, which is included. So you've got 9 currencies, including the dollar, against gold and silver. For 11 years, every year, gold and silver have gone up over 20% on average versus those currencies. Now,
I'm a layman looking at this every morning and every evening, but reading Kitco and the other big sites, clearly, correct me if I'm wrong, they're still in there manipulating, trying to drive it down further right now. And every time it starts rallying, you see them come in and manipulate it downward. Why are they so, I mean, A, is that happening? And B, why are they so scared of metals?
Well, gold in particular, silver because of the short position. Gold is a monetary metal. And there was a fight over the last 2.5 years between the dollar and gold, and very few people realize it. And gold won, hands down, as the only real money in the world. And that's why so many nations are buying gold right now. You got China, India, Russia, Brazil, Iran, Thailand, and Mexico just bought almost 100 tons here in the last couple of months, and they say they're going to buy more.
University of Texas bought $500 million, then another $1 billion last month. Institutions, the Chinese are gobbling it up.
So it tells you that gold's in a monetary institution.
And by the way, what does this mean, though? I'm sorry to interrupt. What does it mean that even during the dip, you saw institutions using that as an excuse to buy it? That means their actuaries show it's going up as well.
I think you're right about that. It's hard to find out exactly what each one is doing, but there's no question. There's major buyers in there. I mean, these are big guys, and they can take gold and silver up anytime they want. They just got to pick their spots. And so this is going to be an ongoing thing now. And I think what's happened, and you know, this Forbes article here this week saying that within 5 years, Steve Forbes said, well, we'll be back on a gold standard. And he's an insider, so he probably got a good insight. And so if he's right, and I'm right, then what's going to happen is that all these governments that get rid of their gold by leasing or selling during the last 20 years are going to start accumulating again, because they're going to have to put it behind their currency if, in fact, that's what's going to happen. And that is what's going to happen.
Let's break that down on the other side, look at other areas in the economy with Bob Chapman. Then with Bob Chapman riding shotgun, we're going to be joined by Jim Mars, one of the preeminent researchers on facts that prove the JFK operation was a inside government hit of John F. Kennedy. And why are we talking about it almost 50 years later? Because the system's trying to rewrite history right now. Stay with us.